My friends, before we begin today's topic, I would like to take a moment to honestly share with you the original intention behind this channel. I did not create this space to chase traffic, seek commercial collaboration, or cater to any established position or cultural preference. This channel was born from a single wish: to build bridges between Eastern and Western philosophies, to enter into dialogue with one another, to let philosophy and science illuminate each other, and to invite people from diverse cultural backgrounds to explore together the fundamental questions none of us can truly avoid. What is the self? How do we understand the world? What do relationships truly mean? All of these explorations ultimately point towards a shared aspiration: to reduce division and polarization at the social level, and at the personal level, to help us cultivate a more stable, fuller inner state, one that allows us to navigate conflict with clarity and face life with greater strength. Because I hold this aspiration sincerely, I want to state something openly. In this space, I will strive to remain honest and clear-minded. I will not avoid important issues simply out of fear of controversy, because genuine dialogue often begins precisely where things are not easy. I hope this can be a space where we truly listen to facts, to risks, and to the responsibilities we inevitably carry as adults and as members of society. From the very beginning, relational non-duality has never been about abstract concepts. It is about how we truly participate in life and relationships, rather than standing aside to analyze the world from a distance. Precisely for this reason, when a serious, complex, and unavoidable issue emerges in reality, I cannot pretend not to see it. I chose to face it directly and develop it into a series of discussions. My friends, I sincerely hope you can understand my motivation and determination. This does not arise from denying anyone, but from cherishing this shared dialogue. If we can offer a little more patience and a little more listening, then perhaps this bridge can truly be built. In the bridging and dialogue advocate in this channel, I need to clearly and calmly state a boundary. Drugs is not the path advocated by this channel. I also hope to make the concepts clear here, as this issue is often intentionally or unintentionally confused. When I say drugs, I am not referring to all medications in general, nor am I denying medicine, treatment, or scientific research itself. Here, what is referred to are substances that have the following characteristics: not for medical necessity, not prescribed or professionally supervised by a doctor, primarily intended to alter consciousness, emotions, or perception, addictive, psychologically dependent, or with significant risks and side effects, illegal or highly regulated substances in most countries. In contrast, legal, regulated, treatment-oriented medications that have undergone strict clinical validation and are supervised by professionals are completely different from the above situations. Mixing the two not only blurs risks, but can also be misleading, which I believe must be taken seriously. The reason I decided to discuss this issue systematically is not based on an abstract moral stance, but stem from very specific, ongoing, and real experiences. Since starting this channel, I have received a large number of private messages. A significant portion of these messages revolved around so-called spiritual experiences. These experiences often share highly similar patterns: self-dissolution, unity of all things, directly seeing the truth, encountering God or ultimate consciousness. Many people are very frank in telling me these experiences arise after ingesting hallucinogens. When I truthfully express I have not used any drugs, what often follows makes me uneasy. Some of the friends start repeatedly persuading, almost tirelessly telling me, "You should give it a try. If you don't use it, you can never truly understand or experience the ultimate truth. This is a shortcut to God or reality." I believe they are well-intentioned as well, wanting to share what they consider wonderful, just as I also want to share good things. And there is nothing wrong with that. However, I must also honestly say that, as a vegetarian woman born from a non-Western cultural background strictly abstaining from smoking, alcohol, and drugs, this psychologically persuasive attitude, although might be well-intentioned, but concerns me because some individuals who are just beginning to explore, curious about meaning, may face confusion and pressure under such persuasion. They are often easily swayed into making high-risk or unpredictable choices in the pursuit of so-called unity. And those friends giving advice, even with good intentions, may not always be accountable for the possible high risks. This is not about blaming anyone, but a reminder that more cautious and self-protection are needed in the exploration process. However, regarding this persuasion phenomena, we can try to understand it from a more tolerant perspective. Many people, after experiencing extremely intense, profound, or even unrepeatable experiences, naturally feel a sense of unease. Is this real? Is it valuable? Or is it just my personal feelings? This doubt is very normal and indicates their serious attitude towards their experiences. Out of this unease, they often wish to share these experiences with others and even encourage others to try the same path. Behind this, many times it is not out of malice, but a desire for psychological confirmation and peace through others experiencing similar experiences. The issue lies in this practice easily leading to an inadvertent group pressure. When someone chooses not to participate or expresses a different opinion, that sense of insecurity may be amplified, leading to misunderstandings or tension. We can understand that this behavior stems from care, passion, and a desire to share. But precisely because of this, we need to be more sensitive to the safety of others. Here, relational non-duality provides some insights for consideration. Firstly, perhaps we do not need to treat some extreme, rare, peak-type experiences as evidence of truth. Perhaps our focus does not have to be on what I saw, what state I entered, whether I experienced some peak consciousness, but rather on how am I continuously, soberly, and responsibly engaging in relationships with ourselves, with others, with the world. Perhaps this clear awareness itself is the most profound engagement with life's meaning. Perhaps from the beginning, we do not need to pursue some kind of specialness, because our existence itself is the manifestation of beauty, and our value does not need unique experiences to gain a sense of superiority to prove. From the perspective of relational non-duality, no one is closer to the truth because they have had more intense experiences. nor does having an extreme state of consciousness make one more authoritative. Each of us is already situated within relationships, and deepening understanding comes from maturity and continuous awareness, rather than pursuing superiority or uniqueness. Therefore, relational non-duality does not require us to believe in it, but invites us to observe ourselves. This is the most crucial reminder. Because often, when we unconsciously find ourselves in a system that requires collective validation, we tend to say, "Believe me, follow me, repeat my path." What relational non-duality proposes is simply an invitation. Reflect ourselves, see how our relationships function, analyze and judge the potential consequences of our choices on ourselves, others, and the world. It is not preaching. It is a way of clear engagement. This clear awareness and the craving for intense peak experiences are entirely different. Furthermore, we must seriously contemplate a question. Once a behavior or path has irreversible consequences, higher physiological or psychological risks, and significant individual differences, and it becomes embedded in a psychological structure that invites more people to join to confirm its value, the danger is no longer just an individual choice issue, but can quickly evolve into a collective behavior that rationalizes, romanticizes, and underestimates risks. In such a structure, risks are often renamed as unnecessary cost. Side effects are packaged as not yet integrated, and vigilance and refusal can easily be interpreted as fear, unawakened, or lack of understanding. When doubt is diminished, when restraint is ridiculed, when caution is seen as backward, it is not the most discerning individuals who are truly harmed, but those whose psychological boundaries are not yet stable, in a vulnerable state of life, and easily swayed by the group atmosphere. This is why I am concerned about this structure, and I do believe a serious discussion of the structure is necessary, not a moral judgment. It is to remind us that when individual experiences enter public space, when sharing begins to influence others, ethics have already emerged. And relational non-duality is the clearest and most unavoidable expression of this ethics. When I choose to respond from the perspective of relational non-duality, it is not to give any theory bonus points, nor is it to use abstract concepts to overshadow real issues. On the contrary, the reason I must return to relational non-duality is because only at the level of relationships does this issue finally reveal its true weight. When a group acknowledges the combination of structure and high-risk elements, the real danger lies not just in what you as individual have done, but rather your choices, whether they are entering the life path of others, your convictions, whether they are influencing the judgments of others, your expressions, whether they are altering an unstable mindset's understanding of risks. And this is where I cannot and will not evade. If we truly care about the well-being of others, about the long-term health of relationships, then we can not only discuss what I see, but must also seriously confront. The admiration of such high-risk behavior may push someone into irreparable situation. A core premise of relational non-duality is that no experience, judgment, or action occurs outside of relationships. We do not first exist as completely isolated individuals and then choose whether to impact others. On the contrary, we are always already within the realm of influence. Language itself is within relationship. Demonstration is within relationship. Silence is also within relationship. Therefore, when we repeatedly narrate the insightful, healing, and truthful aspects of certain high-risk experiences, and inadvertently downplay their costs, irreversibility, and failures, it is no longer just our personal story of spiritual practice, but a behavior shaping the expectations of others. What relational non-duality presents here is not an accusation, but a calm yet serious question. Are we willing to take responsibility for this influence? Not emotional responsibility, not I meant will, but structural responsibility. When someone underestimates risks, misjudges their own state, or spirals out of control because of our expression, do we still believe it has nothing to do with us? This is the blind spot that group confirmation mechanisms find easiest to evade, yet cannot be evaded. In group confirmation structures, responsibility is constantly diluted. It's not just me saying this. Everyone thinks this way. It's their own choice. I'm just sharing experiences. But in relational non-duality, this escape does not exist. Because relational non-duality emphasizes not a chain of causality, but a participatory structure. Am I engaging in a network of relationships that normalizes risks, marginalizes vigilance, and stimulates refusal? If the answer is yes, then regardless of how sincere our motives may be, this participation itself poses an ethical issue. Relational non-duality does not demand that we be right, nor does it demand that we take sides. It simply sets forth an extremely clear standard. Maturity is not reflected in what you see, but in whether you realize that you are being seen by others. A truly mature consciousness naturally generates restraint, not out of fear, but out of understanding consequences. Not because it is prohibited, but because it sees the implications. This is why relational non-duality never promotes peak experiences or praises extreme states of consciousness. Not because they are false, but because they easily lead one to mistakenly believe that the experience itself is the goal. In the perspective of relationships, the real question is not, what did I experience? But rather, has this experience made me more stable in relationships? Has it clarified boundaries for me? Has it made me more willing to protect the vulnerabilities of others? When the consequence of an experience drives individuals to promote potentially high-risk behaviors to others for self-justification, when the experience ultimately weakens not introspection but a sense of responsibility, leading individuals to inadvertently influence others to prove their own choices, even if wrapped in the guise of a sacred experience, it still warrants reflections at the relational level. If we truly care about awakening, about the whole, about connection, then we cannot only focus on what I have experienced without considering who might bear the consequences they cannot handle because of this narrative. This is not stifling freedom. This is a mature understanding of freedom. It is not a retreat into conservatism, but a step towards responsibility. Relational non-duality often emphasizes tolerance of differences. But this tolerance does not mean being without principles. Quite the opposite. It is because we see the profound and real connections between all things that we become more aware that relationships between oneself, others, and the world need to be taken seriously and carefully nurtured. Relationships are not abstract concepts. They are living realities, manifested in the body, emotions, behavior, choices, and the ripple effects they create. Therefore, based on this understanding, we are not just participants in life and the world, but also the guardians of this web of relationships. Every choice, every action subtly affects the overall harmony or imbalance. Guarding is not about controlling others. It is about consciously taking responsibility for the consequences of our actions. It is not about standing on the moral high ground to judge, but about pausing a moment before acting to consider how this choice will impact oneself, others, and the broader world. It is through this understanding that our principles do not simply seek the intensity of personal experiences or immediate satisfaction, but strive to maintain overall harmony as much as possible, reducing unintentional harm to oneself, others, and the world. This balancing act is not a cold calculation, but a cautious attitude based on care and responsibility. It acknowledges complexity, respects vulnerability, and understands that once certain consequences occur, they are not just personal matters. From this, we can say that our moral concepts do not come from external mandatory norms, nor are they the result of indoctrination or oppression, but stem from a genuine understanding of the relational nature of existence. When a person truly sees that I do not exist in isolation, but am always in mutual influence, morality ceases to be a burden. It becomes a natural expression of choice, a self-restraint born out of clear awareness, respect, and compassion. This is not about limiting freedom, but about allowing freedom to unfold enduringly, securely, and authentically within relationships. If this discussion can lead more of us to exercise restraint before expression, to consider the circumstances of others' lives beyond enthusiasm, then it has achieved its true purpose. It is not about creating opposition, but about making relationships worth entrusting again. My friends, regardless of your stance, I sincerely thank you for reaching this point. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next episode.